everybody? It's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with All American Season 4, Episode 18, called Came Back For You. Guys, as we all know, I was really looking forward to this episode because in All American Homecoming, which, again, for people that, watch my All American Homecoming reviews, I'm sorry I didn't get a review up for that one episode. It was a really great episode, but I've just had a very busy week. With, me being, with me doing things in my life and me starting a new job literally tomorrow and just a whole bunch of things that have been happening. I wasn't able, and also my sister working, I wasn't able to get that one episode up, but I was really excited because at the end of the All American Homecoming, for people that have, watched the newest episode of All American Homecoming, if you haven't watched it, skip this part, but if you have watched it, okay, then I can't wait for me to talk about this. But literally, we see Simone getting ready to, get away from everything, and she wants to go, surprise Jordan, and, her mother gives her a ticket to go surprise Jordan, and, and I was like, already right away out the gate, I was like, okay, that's going to be interesting, because in the last episode of All American, we saw that moment where, Jordan went to go with Layla to go see Carrie, and they went to go to that drive-in, that park movie of 17 again, and I was like, okay, this is going to be very interesting, because clearly we're seeing Jordan and Layla really getting close, and of course we're seeing Simone just wanting to surprise Jordan, so right away I knew that was going to be a big problem. Especially by the end of the episode, we get a sneak peek to this week's episode where it's like Simone walks in and she sees Jordan and Layla, getting ready to, go somewhere, and they're all giddy and stuff, and you can clearly tell that they like each other. And then I love when Simone said in the sneak peek, "Oh, what's been going on between you and Layla?" And we get that in this episode. And I was super excited to be like, okay, we're really rolling up to their breakup, so I'm really excited to see what's going to happen in this episode. Unfortunately enough, also, we don't see Asher in this episode, just from the events of last week's episode between what happened between Spencer and Asher. At least I think that was in last week's episode. I think, if I'm correct, that was in last week's episode with Spencer and Asher, along with the whole Jordan and, Jordan not talking to Spencer because he's upset that, he gave Wade Wather a compliment since Wade Wather gave him a compliment, Spencer, and he kind of returned the favor because at the end of the day, they are teammates and they just have to suck it up. And, men, I like each other, but he gave him a compliment and he's on live television. That's why he gave him a compliment. And I just thought Jordan, I think, overall is being petty. And that leads into this week's episode. Because in this week's episode, they're still, Jordan and Spencer are still not talking because of last week's episode. And, of course, Asher, we don't see him in this episode at all after the whole, Spencer thinking that Asher betrayed him, giving out personal information to Coach Montez about him and how, and what's been going on in his life and how, he is as, an individual and shit. So I was like, damn, Asher, you shouldn't have done that. There was a better way to do that. And Asher thinks he's not in the wrong about this thing. Oh, you would do this if you were in my position. And, if you wanted to become a coach. I'm like, no, bro, Spencer wouldn't have done that. You've just been a person that messes up a lot, Asher. You gave away plays because you were bitter that you got kicked off the team and shit. You know what I mean? It's like this kid keeps messing up Asher, and I thought at one point, and same with Jordan, I thought, they're really growing as characters, but then they keep going backwards. There's a word for it. I think it's called regressing. Or degressing. I think it's regressing or degressing or whatever. They keep going back into the way they were of the way their old characters used to be, and instead of when they start to progress, they start to degress or whatever the word is. And it's happened with Asher. It's happened with Jordan, and it's like we're really seeing how they are or how they act. But of course, in this episode, Simone, as Jordan and Layla are getting ready to go out, or Jordan's getting ready to go out with Layla. In this episode to go out to go see, because Layla's going to go meet up with, her father and her father's girlfriend. I think her name is Erin. And, this is the first time Layla's going to be meeting Erin. And this is the first time, Layla's father is going to be introducing Erin to Layla. So this is a big moment. And Jordan wants to be involved and wants to go there as some moral support, aka he really likes her. It's not friend support. He actually likes her. That's why he's doing it. That's why he got overdressed. That's why he put on the, JJ special cologne. He was really, wanting to look really good to go out because he wants to impress, of course, Layla's father. And it's like Simone walks in and realizes right away, no, you know what I mean? Oh, did I just interrupt you guys? Were you guys in the middle of something? And they're like, and Jordan's like, no, we're good. Clearly all flustered because, in a way he knows Simone's not dumb, that clearly there's something going on there. I mean, Simone said it in one of the recent episodes of All American Homecoming. I feel like there's something going on between, Jordan and Layla because they're getting closer. So right away at the gate, she knows something is up. She knows when she rolled into something that, rolled into something about him and them getting closer. She's not dumb. She knows that in a way Jordan's emotionally cheating. Same as how Jordan knows, Simone's emotionally cheating, but Simone kind of admitted to that. And like Jordan's not really admitting to it, and he really doesn't see what everybody else is seeing in this episode. So pretty much, Jordan is, pretty much, his plans with Layla, a wrench gets thrown in his plans with Layla. Simone ends up showing out of the blue, and pretty much, through this entire episode with Jordan and, Layla, Simone is kind of in the, even though she, showed up to be there with Jordan, Jordan kind of, like, in a way, pushes her aside and still, like, kind of, like, does his flirty things with Layla, and clearly not realizing that he's flirting with her, clearly not realizing that they're more than just friends and they like each other. And, Simone has to see that from other people's perspective, even though she knows and sees it. She has to see that. You know what I mean? Like, like she hears it from Clay, because we get, like, well, in this episode, Layla is giving everybody that she's wronged and everybody that she's hurt by her having her walls up after the whole Carrie situation. She's saying sorry to Coop about, how, like, she kind of fired, like, fired Coop from her label. And, Coop kind of, accepts her apology, and she wants to say, she invites Clay to Spencer's, merch drop, event. And, gives a letter to Clay, but Clay rips it up and says, "I'll see you around, Keating." I'm like, dude, Clay, you're kind of a piece of crap for that, but I understand why you're upset, because in a way, she kind of, like, was, literally thinking that, she kind of, like, led you on, thinking, you guys were going to be more, even though that was just a summer fling to her, because she had her walls up and stuff after the whole Carrie thing and after the whole Spencer thing, so it made sense why she did what she did, but in a way, I do feel bad, it makes sense why Clay ripped up the note, because he didn't really care about the whole, like, he didn't really care about her apology. So, in a way, like, we do see that from the standpoint she's trying to, say sorry to people, because after the events of, the previous episode, with Jordan and Layla, like, when they got into the argument, and, Layla had to say the personal things to get Jordan to really stand up for himself, vice versa, Jordan saying stuff to Layla, saying, you kept your walls up, unless, you know what I mean, unless it was you, like, the only time you didn't keep your walls up is when you wanted to have sex and shit. And the whole argument that they had, the truth that really they needed to be told, the truth, and they were the only ones that, are willing to say the harsh truth to get it out there so they can, get past what they've been going through. And then, of course, we had the recent episode, again, where Jordan went with, Layla to go see Carrie. So it's like, Jordan's been the one that's been there for Layla, of course, as a friend, but is the only one that, Layla hasn't been able to put the guard up with, and that's all going to show that there's something there. That's the only reason why she wasn't able to put up the guard with Jordan. And Clay even says that to Layla, saying, you know what I mean, like, he was the only one, I guess, that he could get through, or whatever. And she's like, oh, me and Jordan have been friends for years, and he's like, oh, like, he isn't buying it, that there's something there. And, I feel like that's another reason why he ripped up the note, that, he wasn't able to break down that barrier to, really be with Layla as much as he wanted to, along with Layla kind of leading him on. So it made sense why he ripped up the note. And also, just because it worked with Coop and Coop accepted it doesn't mean Clay was going to accept it. And I mean, in a way, I feel like she just won't care about that, because she's going to be moving on with Jordan, because I feel like she knows she likes Jordan. Vice versa, when Clay, met Simone, because Simone was at that party, you know what I mean? Like, he tried flirting with Simone, and, it just didn't work. And, of course, and she's like, oh, you're Clay, you're Layla's Clay. And he's like, yeah, or whatever. At least, I thought I was, until this dude showed up and pointed to, Jordan and Layla laughing, and, them trying on Spencer's merch hats. And it kind of, like, set Simone in the tone of, like, okay, this isn't going to work. And they end up breaking up, literally, as they're going back to the beach house after the whole merch drop. And that was very upsetting, but we knew it was going to happen with them breaking up. And that was the biggest takeaway of this episode, is, them breaking up. And, Simone leaves a note to Jordan saying, you and Spencer need to make it work out. And it's not just because, we didn't try to make it work. It's because that we're just growing. We're growing, you know what I mean? We're living life. And that's why it's not working. It's not like we didn't try. It's just, we're so busy and we're growing in life, and things like this happen. So, this is the thing you need to, like, well, you need to work it out with Spencer, because you guys need to be the people to, that, you guys are, like, people that aren't going to grow apart. You guys are going to be friends forever. You need to make it work out. And that was the point where, Jordan ends up crying to Spencer. And at that point, they kind of squashed the beef because, again, at the end of the day, Spencer really didn't have, Spencer wasn't even the one, was the one that didn't want this beef to even happen because it was such a petty thing that Jordan, has going on. But Jordan's been, I feel like, this acting petty since they've been going to college, or hell, since this season so far. He's just been petty and weird, and I just don't even know what's been going on with the character. And, that was just a stupid thing to get angry about. And so I'm just so happy they squashed it, and Spencer, as he always has been there for Jordan, was there for Jordan when Jordan dropped the pettiness and, was there. Spencer was the person to be like, okay, I'm going to drop it. I need to be here for my friends. It was stupid to begin with. I think he even knows that, and I'm not going to be the person to be like, oh, you're angry at me, I'm not talking to you. He was there for Jordan. I thought that was a really nice emotional moment. And, we end off this episode, of course, like I said, with Olivia, Layla, Jordan, and Spencer, and them all playing football, having fun. And Jordan's like, oh, I want, and then Olivia's like, oh, are we going to be on the same team because, we're twins? And they said like, they're kind of like twin duo name or something. I don't even know what it was. And he's like, no, I want Layla. And they're like, oh, Layla. So that's clearly where they even know what's going to go. Because they have been spending a lot of time with each other. And even I love when Simone's like, no, you know what I mean? Because Jordan kind of tried to flip their argument with oh, you know what I mean? Well, it's kind of like the same thing, me being there for, it's kind of like the same thing with you being there for Damon. You know what I mean? It's like me being there for Layla. And I love how Simone's like, don't play that with me because I at least told you when we were entangled and stuff, when me and Damon were entangled and everything, I at least told you that there was some feelings there. You're kind of ignoring the harsh facts. You're ignoring what's right in front of you, and it's true. So, you know what I mean? I just love how at this point, he's fully realizing he likes Layla, and I feel like it's not going to take too long for them to really, start dating. That'll probably be them kissing. I wouldn't be shocked at the last episode they kiss and they start dating next season. They try to figure out what they want to be and they start dating next season. But I don't think it's going to take that long because by the end of the season, by the end of this episode, we end up finding out there's 2 more episodes left, which is crazy to think that there's 2 more episodes left of All American, and next week's looks crazy, which I can't wait to talk about that. But that's what's really going on with, Jordan, Layla, and Simone, and how that all ended. But going on to Spencer and what Spencer's going through in this episode, Spencer wakes up with Olivia, or Spencer wakes up in the bed, I'm assuming of the Baker house, where Olivia's downstairs, and she's kind of doing her whole detective thing because she is a reporter now. So she's like, oh, who took my thermos? Who took the rest of the orange juice? And kind of looking at Coop, did you do it? And Coop's like, no, I didn't do it or whatever. Probably, you know what I mean? I don't drink that high-end orange juice stuff. And she kind of thought, okay, it might have been patience. She filled up the rest of this, the rest of the orange juice. And she also took my thermos and then left for tour. And then, of course, Coop is like, okay, Detective Olivia, chill out. You know what I mean? You're looking into this too much, which I thought she was. It's just some orange juice and a thermos. You need to chill out a little bit. It's just orange juice and the thermos. What the heck? You're really looking into this too much. But I understand she's excited. She's a reporter now. Of course she's going to look into things like that. And this is how Olivia is, her just natural instinct of things, and how she's usually right about a lot of things. So it's kind of I understand the whole dynamic of, she's like, okay, who took my thermos? Who took the rest of the orange juice? And of course, at this point, Coop is trying to figure out, what she needs a job. So she's putting I ran an arcade, and I love Olivia's you ran an arcade, and she's like, you need to say you had a job to get a job, you know what I mean? So I'm saying I had this job to get a job, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm going to be doing. And, Coop goes on trying to find a job also to, also benefit her community service, I guess. That's a part of, getting her hours down, I guess. So she needs to get a job and everything to show that she's, trying to, do things and stuff. So she needs to do that, and she, what she gets, her job that she gets, I saw it coming from a mile away, and I can't wait to talk about that. But, going back to, Olivia and Spencer, what happened to, Olivia, so she's really, embracing the reporter side in this episode, and, of course, we see her going up to, Spencer and saying, oh, did they wake you? And she's like, and Spencer's like, no, or whatever, I, saying, Davida woke me up with the whole, trying to get this whole merch drop ready, even though I just made a brand right now. I just, made a logo, but now she's, jumping to starting my, launching my brand today, and it feels like things are going very fast. And he's like, I don't know if I have time with all that. I don't want this becoming this whole NIL thing, like you've been saying, where it's I don't have time for things. I don't want that to happen, where I need to focus up on football. And I love how Olivia's like, are you trying to sabotage yourself and trying to, not show up to your merch drop? And she's like, get out of your head, just show up to the merch drop. And he's like, I don't want it to be bigger than what it has to be. And of course, Spencer's in his head, like, Davida, she knows how to move the needle, trying to move things forward. Like, okay, you want to do this, you want to help out your community, you know what I mean? This is, we have to go fast then. We need to get this started. We need to start doing publicity about your merch. We're dropping it today. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get this moving. And of course, Wade Waters, the person, Olivia's like, okay, and like Spencer's concerned about that. Wade Waters comes out of nowhere. Is all like trying to be buddy with Spencer after Spencer gave him a nice compliment after Wade gave him a compliment. So it's like Wade's trying to turn Spencer in a way like it was like another groupie friend he has, trying to like, oh, you got my back, bro, type of dude, trying to get Spencer to go on his side, and you know what I mean, and make him look good. Same as how Jordan and Spencer made each other look good. He wants now Spencer to be that person to make him look good, and Spencer Spencer makes him look good. Same as how Spencer makes Wade Waters look good. So he wants to kind of take Spencer away from Jordan in a way, but like and kind of foil Jordan's plans as much as what Wade said, like, oh, you're after my position. That's why you sent your sister after me. Blah 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 blah. So in a way, he's trying to like make Spencer become his number one friend, and we clearly see that in this episode when he's like, oh, because when he walks into Davida's meeting, because Davida wanted to have a meeting at the juice bar, she literally had all the shirt, all the merch and everything there, pretty much trying to show the rollout and how it's going to go. And Spencer's like, I thought it was going to be small. What's all this? You know what I mean? I haven't told anybody about my brand yet. And, Wade comes in, he's like, oh, I'm going to show this to my 3 million followers. And, you know what I mean? I'm going to get this rolling, bro. Like, trying to act like always like, oh, we're bros. No, we're not bros, bro. Like, no, you're a piece of shit, dude. He's just being nice, okay? You clearly don't grasp that Spencer can be nice, but he doesn't have to be your freaking friend. Especially when Spencer found out about that one like article that Wade wrote on the college campus, like app or whatever that shows like what's going on around like the area. He talked shit about Olivia as clearly as we know from last week when Olivia found out what Wade Waters wrote about her, but she kind of had an understanding that was Wade that did it, not like, oh, who did this, because of the whole interview and him saying that crap to her face and then walking away, making it sound like it was Jordan that sent his sister after him to steal, so Jordan could steal his spot. So it's like she knew right away that it was Wade. But when Spencer ends up finding out from Simone showing Spencer and Jordan what Wade wrote, like oh someone wrote this, like trying to show them about, because like I guess Jordan and Simone are fighting about what food place that they're gonna go to. He's like, because Jordan's like, okay, let's go to this food place, and Simone's like, no, that food place has like bad reviews, or it's not as good as the other place. And she's like, he's like, how do you know this? And she's like, oh, it's the app. Do you guys not check out this app? And she just so happens to come across the article that Wade Waters wrote, but it doesn't show up that was Wade that wrote that article. And Spencer right away is like, oh hell no, whoever wrote this is gonna get their ass kicked. And of course, in a way, he goes to Olivia, saying, "Did you see who wrote this?" And Olivia's like, "I was kind of hoping that you wouldn't have seen that." And he's like, like, who did it? And she's like, I'm handling it or whatever, like, or who cares? Like, I'm handling it. Just leave it alone. It'll be okay. You know what I mean? Because at this point, he knows that Wade's the one that wrote it after, because, he's like, who else could it have been? Because, the whole, her wanting to interview Wade and everything. So he already knows and assumes it's Wade. And he wants to confront Wade, but she doesn't want him to do that because she's dealing with it. Because she even knows it's Wade, and she's dealing with it, going through her reporting about the NIL thing to kind of get payback for all of his bullshit, in a way, because it's kind of, I feel like it's now personal because of what he said. Also, the fact that it's her article that she's looking into, and she wants to expose this ass for who he is, and how he clearly isn't focused up on football. He's clearly letting, and this is the downside of the whole NIL thing, and he is the poster boy for the downside of the NIL thing. So, in a way, of course, Spencer's not rolling with it, so he's going to, of course, confront Wade about it, pushes him up against the locker, saying, oh, bro, who the hell do you think you are? Wade's like, oh, I couldn't have done this, and Jordan's like, and Jordan tries, like, and Spencer's like, says to Jordan, what is he talking about? Saying, oh, yeah, Wade couldn't have done it because he was at the quarterback meeting or whatever, and you can't have your phones in there. I'm like, bro, Don't be believing Wade. And even Jordan wasn't believing it. But it's like, don't be believing Wade. This man clearly doesn't even show up to practice for a whole sponsorship thing. So God knows he probably has like 2 phones, one for the plug and one for the load. Man is some bullshit. He most likely has 2 phones rolling around in his pocket and probably is sneaking underneath the table saying, oh, Olivia's this, blah, 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 blah. Because he's that snake. He's a slimy snake. Or a slimy worm, bro. Like, he is definitely doing stuff like that. So I was kind of shocked when, like, Spencer kind of, like, was like, oh, I guess, he probably couldn't have done it. And Olivia was angry when we're at, Spencer's merch drop, Olivia was angry, saying, "Oh, so you just like you're just going to take Wade's word for it that he didn't do it?" And Spencer's like, tried to say, "No, that's not what I'm trying to say." And of course, David is like, "Okay, you need to give a speech." And he's like, "What?" And whenever he's like, "This isn't a good time," trying to like tell Olivia like that's not what I meant. You know what I mean? He just said he didn't do it, so I kind of. You know what I mean? I don't know what else you kind of want me to do, but I don't know what else to do because Jordan kind of gave a good explanation that he couldn't do it because they couldn't have phones in there. So it couldn't have been him, right? So it's like, I understand, like, it was kind of like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's hard, you know what I mean? It's like he thought he got an answer of like, oh, Wade didn't do it there. He has an alibi, so he couldn't have done it. So it's like, Spencer's not going to do the whole sleuthing thing and everything and look into things even more because he doesn't have that reporter background or that reporter instinct that Olivia has that got her into reporting at the LA Tribune. So it's kind of like she's letting this whole NIL thing get to her, and it's affecting her day to day. It's affecting her relationship. This whole NIL report piece that she's working on. It's affecting her being Jen's sponsor because she doesn't end up showing up to Jen's sponsorship thing when she gets her first chip for her sobriety. So it's kind of like she feels like this whole piece is kind of like affecting her life, and she like thinks by the end of this episode she's just let go of the piece, and Layla's like, don't do that, you know what I mean, like you should keep going on with this. And it's kind of like I kind of agree with Olivia in a way that she should sort of kind of let go of this because it's affecting a lot of things, but I'm sorry she shouldn't, because like I suggested, like I knew when he like said like, oh, you know what I mean, when he lied saying, I didn't do it, but I'll help you find the ass that did. Just let me know when you find the ass that did do it. Kind of like, oh, I got your back. Even though he is the one that did it, like I knew he did. And when in the moment where like he goes to Olivia saying, oh, I found the dude that did it. I'm so sorry. And Olivia's like, maybe maybe you know what I mean. I think I know who did things, but actually I'm wrong. Like I feel like my reporting skills and of me just knowing things and having a gut feeling is kind of off. Me having my gut feelings, and maybe I've been off around a lot of things. Maybe this whole NIL thing is affecting me. Maybe I should just drop the piece. But it's the fact that Wade Waters hired somebody. We end up finding that at the end of this episode, that he hired that one kid to take the fall, and he said he was going to put in a good word with Coach Marcus or whatever, or no, not Coach Marcus. I mean Coach, I forget his name, or Coach something. I think it's like Coach Grant. Yeah, Coach Grant. He's going to put in a good word with Coach Grant and everything, because I guess he's a freshman. And, it's like, dude, I knew that he lied, and Olivia shouldn't have, like, ignored her gut feeling, knowing that, so you're just going to believe him. But I feel like she shouldn't have yelled at, like, Spencer like that. But in a way, because Spencer doesn't have that reporting gut feeling about things like that. So it's like she's letting this thing get to her, and we clearly saw her like about how she like kind of snapped at Spencer, like, oh, so you're just gonna believe him. So it's like she's been all over the place in the episode. I'm happy she realized that this like piece is getting to her and it's affecting her day-to-day life. So it's gonna be interesting to see where Olivia goes. If she will drop the piece or not. I feel like she won't when she find. I feel like that freshman is gonna like tell Olivia that like he like said, you know what I mean, that he's been like that, he is a liar, that he did hire me to take the blame when I wasn't the one who said anything, and you were right. I feel like this will all get out because I feel like, again, I feel like that freshman's just gonna be pissed about Wade saying, oh, figure it out yourself, that you won't be able to do practice tomorrow because he had to do like a ton of push-ups, and he's like, I don't know how I could do practice tomorrow, I'm super sore now, and then Wade's like, oh, figure it out yourself. It's like, bro, that freshman's gonna snitch on you because you're an ass. You know what I mean? And all this is bound to catch up with you. You skipping out on practice, you really think that's what's gonna get you to the NFL? Like, bro, no, you're gonna set yourself up. You don't need Olivia's piece to screw you over. You're gonna screw over yourself, my dude. And it's gonna catch up to you. It's gonna catch up to you, all your bullshit. And I'm excited to see when that will catch up to him, and he won't get into the NFL. I feel like we're gonna get to the point where we see that where he doesn't get to go on to get picked. Is because, or even go on to even graduate, you know what I mean, for how bad he's been doing, like Wade Waters, he's an ass. So it's all gonna catch up to him, whether that piece gets out that Olivia's gonna put out or not. It's gonna catch up to him regardless. Especially like his record about not showing up to practice, like he's just not reliable, and NFL people look at that, teams look at that. If you're not reliable and showing up to practice in college, you sure shit aren't gonna get scouted and drafted in, you know what I mean, like in the draft for the NFL. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to get picked. So it's going to be funny when Wade Waters gets what's coming to him. But I mean, it's just very interesting to me, again, like, how like Spencer, wanted to say sorry, but they couldn't have, and he's afraid to give a speech because he doesn't really know what to do about it. But I love when Coop gives him, like, the motivation, but, like, bro, it's not really about you in a way. It's, like, what you're doing for the kids. Think about that, like, what you did for Dylan, and what you're showing kids that, that, you can be successful, you can achieve your dreams. What you're doing by taking Dylan's art, and, you know what I mean, and doing this, like, is really showing people that you can't follow your dreams. And I love when Spencer gives his speech. He said he's going to give half of his, he said, him doing this NIL thing is what's going to make him be able to give back to the community, and he's going to give majority of his, sponsorship money to programs for art, for like Dylan's art, and people that do artwork, and people that want to get into football and do all that stuff. Like, he's gonna give back to the community, and that's what the whole King Crenshaw thing is about. And I love how it's like the brand's not about him, it's about in a way it's about like how much Crenshaw meant. It's about, and essentially, like, King Crenshaw, like, Dylan made it about their father, about Corey. So it's like, this is about, like, the love of the community, and how, like, and that's what the symbol means of King Crenshaw, is the love of South Crenshaw and where you come from. And that's why I just thought it was so beautiful when he said he's going to give his earnings and, his money back to the community. It shows that he's doing the right path of how, is the one benefit of NIL and what you can do with NIL. But Wade Waters is the poster boy of how bad things can go when you're just so focused on the sponsorships and your likeness, and also, and just focusing on the money. You're forgetting what your passion was, and how this can affect you, and how this could affect your future. Spencer's doing it the right way and giving back to his community, and that's what's so great. So I loved that. That Coop kind of like smacked him in the head a bit, like, no, it's not about you, essentially. Stop thinking about that. Like, like, you don't want this. It's good because it benefits the kids and inspiring kids. And that's what this whole logo, your brand, is about. Embrace that. So I loved that. I thought that was really cool. But going back to Coop needing to find a job, she's looking, and she ends up, going to Laura, and ends up answering Laura's phones and pretty much being her secretary. And I'm like, okay, like, right away, I'm like, Coop's going to be Laura's secretary, I bet. And next thing you know, Laura ends up getting a whole bunch of clients and stuff because of Coop. So I was like, okay. And she's like, what, so you want me to be your secretary? But that doesn't, like, my requirements are like that. I can't do that because, like, I didn't do college and stuff. I can't do that. So they wouldn't add that to the community service and stuff like that. So I can't do that. And she's like, you need to go to classes. You need to go to college to do it, either in person or online, but you need to do it. And I think you should do classes for, meaning to be a lawyer. So is there a chance Coop's going to become a lawyer? Because she has to take classes, so even her to even be a secretary, to be even dealing with any of that, she's like, you should take classes so you can actually do stuff like this. Be a part of my firm that I'm kind of doing. So it's like, I'm excited to see where Coop goes with this. I'm loving the new storyline we're getting with Coop, where she's kind of like, found a new relationship with, I can't believe I'm forgetting, with Sky, I think that was her name. And also, going on this new path where it's like, maybe not music is our path anymore, but helping people. You know what I mean? Because, she always wants to help people and essentially save people like Spencer. So I feel like this is a perfect opportunity, and actually something that is really calls to her, something that she already has as as second nature, is also is wanting to help people. I love that. It's such a great storyline that we're seeing with Coop, maybe her becoming a lawyer. It's so great. I'm liking this, if that's what that means. I'm stoked to see where this could go, especially because I think Laura and Coop work together so well, and I feel like it's just so perfect. But going on with Billy, and again, Principal Carter, or I guess D'Angelo Carter, because we do see D'Angelo Carter in this episode, which I feel like we haven't seen him in forever. I don't know where the man's been for, being together with Grace. We haven't even heard where he's been, but apparently he got a new, job offer. But that means he's going to be traveling somewhere, and he wants Grace to come with him. And he ends up talking to Billy, like, I don't know what to do. And, and of course, Billy's like, oh, like, I have this, this girl that's trying to, take my job. I forget the lady's name that wants to take his job. But he's like, I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do. Like, was it this hard for you? You know what I mean? Being a principal? And he's like, yeah, or whatever. He's like, the worst thing you could do is be assistant principal. And that, of course, isn't what Billy wants to do. He wants to be principal. So I love when Preach is in the other room trying to bench press and shit. And he's like, dude, I can barely focus because you guys are rambling on. Like, you don't want to tell Grace about you. You don't know how to tell Grace, you know what I mean, that you want to have her come with you, or like, you know what I mean, or like how you should, like, present that you have a job offer, Jesus, I can't even like speak right now. And, and you pretty much, afraid to, even talk to your opponent that wants to take your job, and you don't even know what to do. So it's like, I love what preachers like, just talk to her. I talked to the girl that wants to take her job, and, she wants to spend more time with her granddaughter, and she wants to just, retire. And that's just me talking to her. You should talk to her. And I love when preachers like, dude, you need to talk to, to Miss Grace, because that's what she deserves, is you just tell her, instead of trying to be like, oh, afraid to talk to her. If you love her so much, tell her how you feel about how, like, you want her to come with you, or tell her, you know what I mean, or at least she deserves to know that, you have this going on. You know what I mean? You being afraid to tell her is like dumb. Go talk to her. Like, tell her that you want her to come with her, or want her to come with you. Tell her that, that you have an offer, but you're afraid to take it. Like, tell her this. I just love it when preachers like just do it. Preach has always been that dude, just to tell it how it is and stuff. So I do like how Preach was the one that kind of like move to get them to actually like face their fears, especially also that moment when like Billy, like when Spencer's giving his speech and Billy's looking at Grace. I was like, oh my God, is he not wanting Grace to leave South Crenshaw? Is this his way of like making her stay? Does he like her? Is he afraid to let her go? In a way, I feel like Billy is afraid to change. So maybe it's not that he likes her, but he's afraid, he doesn't want her to leave South Crenshaw, because I mean, she is a big part of South Crenshaw. Same as how like Grace said to D'Angelo Carter, is that about like, oh, like you like, he's like, I don't want to leave South Crenshaw. Like, I know that South Crenshaw, like everything you know and love is here in South Crenshaw. It's like, not if you leave, not everything I know and love will be here in South Crenshaw. So it's kind of like maybe Billy feels the same way. That's why he kind of gives Grace the assistant principal position, because he doesn't want her to leave. But it kind of like foiled Principal D'Angelo Carter's plans about having Grace come with him, because he really wants her to come with him and he wants to take the job offer. So I don't know, is this going to mean that D'Angelo Carter and also Billy are gonna hate each other again, or D'Angelo Carter is gonna hate Billy for giving Grace that position that's gonna make her stay? I don't know. That's what's gonna be interesting. I can't wait to see that, because he seemed devastated when he heard that Billy offered her a position to make her stay there. He seemed pissed. I mean, he went to Billy to ask for advice about how do I get her to go. And it's like he does that to him, and I feel like he's going to take that personal. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to think about that. Do you guys think he took it personal? He's going to be hating Billy for that? I think he will. But I'm just excited to see where this all will go, especially in next week's episode, where like Asher had the nerve to say to Spencer, "Oh, you would stab us in the back if you could." And then Spencer's like, "You betrayed me." I was like, if you had the opportunity, you stab us in the back if you could, or like, oh, you stabbed us in the back or whatever. And he's like, or like, I forget what he's like. Yeah, I forget what he said. Like, oh, like, if you were in this position, you would stab people in the back too, or you've stabbed people in the back too. And he's like, you betrayed me. Spencer never stabbed anybody in the back. I don't think so. Spencer's never been the person to be like, oh, like if you like Asher saying, oh, if you were in my position, you would do this too. No, he wouldn't, Asher. Asher, you have like a history of doing this shit, of betraying people and doing this bullshit. Bro, I'm not messing with Asher. I'm liking this they're back to their old, like, not liking each other thing, it seems like. I'm liking it, because they were rivals at one point, and it seems like we're getting that again. And mind you, JJ's not too happy with everything that's going on. He's like, he said in the next episode, we've all been growing apart, and I'm not liking this. Because, again, JJ is kind of like the person that's kind of like, the middleman of, like, trying, like, the glue, trying to pretty much keep the group together. And he knows that it's like, he's not working as the glue. He's like, I don't like how things are changing. And you know what I mean? And that things have just been bad. JJ is really afraid to change. You know what I mean? He's the glue that keeps everybody together. And I feel bad that he's kind of like the child in the middle of the argument, like, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want us to fight. I don't want us to break up. I want us to all stay friends. It just makes me sad, because, I mean, people should be lucky. Like, I've been saying this, to have a friend like JJ that just wants people to stay friends, and wants people, to work things out and to try this, to work things out and try to make time for one another. I just feel bad because I feel like everybody's left JJ in the dust, and kind of JJ like has been like left alone. And I feel like that's why he's just saying it how it is. I feel like we've all been growing apart, and I'm not liking this. And so much change has been happening. So I feel like JJ's just had enough. Where it feels like they're all not wanting to be friends anymore, not trying to make it work out. But it's like, in a way, Asher's the one doing this. There was a better way to do it, and he did it in a shitty way. Of course, Asher won't admit it because Asher thinks that he was valid in his methods of what Coach Montez asked from him. He thinks he has, he didn't do anything wrong. It doesn't surprise me that Asher thinks he didn't do anything wrong, because he seems like every time we see the character grow, he starts to ungrow. Same time we see Jordan grow, he seems to ungrow. I don't know what it is with Jordan and Asher's characters, but it's like it's like they fluctuate in character growth. But I'm excited to see what's going to go down, because again, we only have 2 more episodes. So we have next week, and then we have the week previously after that, and then it's done for the season of season 4, and then we're going on to season 5. Which again, I'm going to say it like I always say it. At the end of each season, I will be coming back for season 5, so don't worry, guys. Don't have to worry about that. I will be coming back. I can't wait for season 5, especially the way we're going to be ending this. I'm stoked, because there's a lot of things that could be like a crazy cliffhanger. What's going on? Will D'Angelo Carter be angry at Billy for Billy giving the offer to Grace about the assistant principal position that keeps Grace at South Crenshaw and ruins Principal, I just keep saying Principal Carter, but D'Angelo Carter's plan to have Grace come with him. That's one. Will Olivia drop the NIL, her piece? Will she drop it? But will that affect how Wade Waters is kind of thinks he's untouchable and thinks he can get away with everything? Will that affect it if she lets it go? Because I do think that her piece should go through, because he's really he needs to be stopped. And Olivia's piece could show people that you're not untouchable, especially and the NIL situation could be a bad thing if you let it become a bad thing, and that's exactly what Wade Waters is abusing, that opportunity that he's being thrust upon him. He's abusing that opportunity. But yeah, literally, that's another thing that could happen. Asher and Spencer no longer becoming friends. That's another thing. Jordan and Alayla could kiss at the last episode for all we know, and maybe they're like, oh my god, and they kind of maybe are wondering what they are, that could lead in the next season. A lot of things could happen, and I cannot wait to see what happens in the next 2 episodes that we have of All American, before it's done of season 4. But I'm interested down in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode, because I really did like this episode. I'm excited to see what happens with Patience when she comes back. I wonder if we'll see her before the season ends. Probably we will. But yeah, guys, I'm super excited to see the next 2 episodes. Again, I want to know down in the comments below what you guys thought about this episode. Did you guys like this episode? Did you guys not like this episode? What are your theories on what you guys think are going to happen in the next 2 episodes? Again, here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put those notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the fam, part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And guys, we are yet again to almost 500 subscribers. Right now, we're at, I think, 494. We are literally almost there to 500. So yet again, I would really, really appreciate it if you guys have watched my videos before, if you guys subscribe to the channel, put in those notifications, and like this video. Also, the reason I probably sound stuffy is because literally, I don't know if I have allergies, but I've been cutting grass all day. So that's why I sound a little bit stuffy and stuff. So that's probably why. I was sneezing like crazy a second ago downstairs when I was watching All American. So I might have a little bit of I might have grass allergies. I'm not sure. Maybe it's all because it might have been all the grass clippings up in the air and all the stuff I've been breathing in outside of all the lawn work I've been doing. Because I did about probably, I want to say, I did 2 houses today. I did my house. I did my house. I did front and back. And I went down to my sister's. I did her house front and back. So that's probably, I've been outside all day under the sun. And guys, I will have, hopefully by, if not before or after, by the time you see this video, I have a Thor Love and Thunder Mjolnir I have a Thor: Love and Thunder Marvel Legends Mjolnir Hammer review going up. It's either up now by the time you see this video, or it's going to be coming up later tonight. So stay tuned for that. Go check out that video and go like that video and support that video. I would like it a lot. It helps with the YouTube algorithm when you guys like the video, when you guys comment, and when you guys share the video. Share this to the cast. I would love for them to know that I love the show, and know that I'm a big supporter of the show, and know that I'm kind of like, and know that I spread the word and spread how great the show is. So I would love it again if you guys share the video with the cast of the show. I would just love it, and the crew and whoever is involved with the show. Go share it to them. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, guys, that was a video. I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next Monday for episode 19 of All American. Peace.